There is a hung jury in the Ryan Widmer trial.
Yeah, it's the big story of the day, and 9 News reporter Deb Silverman joins us live from outside the courthouse with the very latest on the breaking news. Deb?
That's right. This was a hung jury. These jurors could not come up with an agreement. They could not come up with a verdict. It was very emotional inside this courthouse today when that was announced. It was less than an hour ago that the judge brought everyone back into the courtroom and announced that this jury could not reach a verdict. How the jury was divided, we don't know at this point. We do know that the jurors were dismissed. Ryan Widmer and his family are in shock. We haven't heard from Ryan since he was found guilty the first time. Ryan made a quick comment as he walked out of the courthouse.
Disappointed, obviously. He should be found not guilty.
Now there, he said that he was extremely disappointed, walking out of the courthouse very quickly and emotional, wiping his eyes a little bit, obviously overwhelmed by what has happened. The defense attorneys and the prosecutors were told by the judge that their gag order remains. That means they still can talk about this case until it's determined what will happen next. Well, there are so many questions about what's going to happen next. The prosecutors must decide if they want to try Ryan Widmer for a third time. In the meantime, defense attorneys do plan on filing a motion for an acquittal. And what that means is they would file paperwork asking the judge to acquit Ryan Widmer, find him not guilty, and then the prosecutors cannot try him a third time. So a lot going on right now. We do know Sarah Widmer's family has not been here at all during these deliberations. Her mother did show up to testify, and then she showed up again for the closing arguments, but she was not here to hear a verdict, and she didn't plan on coming to hear a verdict. I'm told from a very close family friend of hers that to the Sarah Widmer's family, the verdict really, the outcome wouldn't change anything for them because it would not bring Sarah back. So obviously a lot going on here. A lot of questions remain. We don't know how this jury was divided. Was it 6 people to 6, or was it 11 to 1? And hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to some of these jurors, because now that they've been dismissed, they've been told that they are able to talk to their families about what's been going on. This has been 3 weeks, 3 weeks and a day of these jurors not being able to talk to friends, not being able to talk to family about this case, not even being able to go on the internet or read what's going on. So I'm sure it's probably very emotional for them right now, too. Tanya, Brendan?
Deb, absent the judge granting the defense's motion for an acquittal, the big question, of course, is what happens next. You and I were just talking about this last night off camera, and that is that the possibility that a future prosecutor could come back 30 years from now because there's no statute of limitations on murder, correct?
That is correct. And so that even if Prosecutor Rachel Hutzel decides, okay, we're not going to do this a third time, someone else, like you said, could come back way down the road and say, we want to try this again. So even though the prosecution could decide, hey, we're not going to do this again, it's not over for Ryan Widmer unless the judge acquits him. Brendan?
One more quick question. What's the
Yes.
possibility of the family filing a wrongful death civil suit now that the criminal case has resulted in a mistrial?
Well, that is obviously always an option for Sarah Widmer's family to file a civil lawsuit. I haven't talked with her family to see if that's something that they are considering, but it is always an option. In that situation, the burden of proof is much lower. And so you would bring in, it's 8 jurors instead of 12, and you only need 6 of the 8 of them to find him guilty of that, and the burden of proof is much lower. So like in the O.J. Simpson case, he was found not guilty of the crime, but he was found guilty at a civil case. So that is something that could be brought forward in this situation. At this point, I have no idea what Sarah Widmer's family is thinking about that.
Right, clear and convincing, or preponderance of the evidence versus beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
Deb Silverman,
and actually,
thanks.
it's the preponderance of evidence in this case.
Absolutely,
if it were to be
a
civil.
much lower burden of proof. Deb Silverman reporting live for us tonight. We'll see you again at 6 o'clock. Cincinnati.